Hi everybody, Patrick here from EngineeringShock.com, electroniclessons.com, and PaintballProps.com. Today I'm going to show you how to put together the port expander DIY kit. Now this port expander is not going to be sold as a product at EngineeringShock.com. It is a stretch goal for my most recent Kickstarter campaign, my fingerprint scanner project modules. And so let's talk about the components. Programmed microcontroller, 4-pin header. 0.1 microfarad ceramic capacitor, two 7-pin headers, a custom PCB, a 3-pin header, a 2-pin jumper, and a 2.2 microfarad electrolytic capacitor. Now, the video manual for this specific board and how you interface it with the fingerprint scanner boards is linked below. This is only going to be used as an assembly video. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to want to solder in our microcontroller, and that's actually the easiest step. From this perspective, you'll notice that there's the 3-pin header slot on the left and the 4-pin header slot on the right. Now here is the silk screen for the microcontroller right in the middle, and it says PIC 18F1220P on the actual footprint. And you'll notice right to the left of PIC there's a little slot, a little notch, and on the microcontroller, sorry about that, you'll notice that on the left hand side, sorry about the lighting, hopefully you can see it, there's a little notch right on the left hand side. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to place that flush into the board with the notch facing the 4-pin header slot to the left. If you turn this around and you solder it into place, your kit is more or less garbage. This is the most important step, and it's just a matter of orientation. This, along with the electrolytic capacitor, there are only 2 instances of orientation on this kit. It's extremely easy to put together, so I'm going to solder this into place. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then we're going to solder in our headers. As you can see, I've soldered the chip into place. One thing to note when you're soldering is that there are tiny little holes, tiny little silver holes in between the IC pins, the chip pins, and those are called vias, and what they do is they bring signal lines from the bottom of the board to the top of the board. Now you want to make absolutely certain that when you're soldering your chip into place that you don't short to any of these vias. It's very important. In any case, let's turn it around and have a quick look at it. As you can see, this is a much better view. The notch is facing the left side of the board, the 4-pin header slot. And if you look below, you can actually see from a bird's eye view that that's where the notch is on the silk screen. So let's talk about soldering in our headers. Everyone has their own method to soldering headers. You can go about it your own way. My suggestion is that what you do is to hold one header down with your fingernail, turn it around, and solder one pin. Check from the top to make sure that it's flush to the board at 90 degrees, and then solder the rest of the pins. So before we do that, again, we've got our 4-pin header. There's our 4-pin header slot, our 2 7-pin headers on the top and bottom, and our 3-pin header slot on the right. So in the case of soldering one of my 7-pin headers, for instance, pardon me for getting in front of the camera, I'll place it in. I want for it to be facing straight up at 90 degrees. I'll hold it down with my fingernail. You want to make sure that your fingernail is not on one of the pins that you're soldering because it gets very hot. And I want to solder this pin right here. Once the solder is cooled, I'll turn it around, ensure that it's flush to the board, facing 90 degrees straight up, and then I'll solder the rest of the pins. And that's the easiest way for me, anyhow, to do that. So I'm going to solder those all into place, and then we're going to place our 2-pin jumper for safekeeping, and we'll place our capacitors. For safekeeping, connect your 2-pin header to either the middle and bottom or middle and top pins on the 3-pin header. That is your latching or momentary mode option. And now we're going to solder in our capacitors. Now our 0.1 microfarad ceramic capacitor, you'll notice that there's 2 leads and they are of equal length. That goes into the capacitor slot right here. It's labeled 0.1U, and it doesn't matter which way you place it in, just make sure that your solder joints are strong and that there are no shorts. And as for the 2.2 microfarad electrolytic capacitor, you'll notice that one lead is short and one lead is long. And that goes in this slot right here. Now, from the video, you might not be able to see it. But the bottom pin, from this perspective, the bottom pin has a plus sign above it, and the top pin closest to the 4-pin header has a minus sign above it. The capacitor, the long lead, is your positive, your short lead is your negative. So from this perspective, you want to place your long lead in the bottom hole, and your short lead in the top hole facing the 4-pin header. If you turn this around and you power it up, your capacitor will likely blow up. So make sure it's flush to the board when you solder it into place. And that's it. So I'll solder it into place and we'll look at the board in its completed state. And there you have it. We've got your power supply side and our signal line inputs, our output lines, and our mode selection lines. Everything is connected properly. Everything's been soldered without any shorts. Very easy to put together. As you can see, there are 4 mounting holes, 1 on each corner. And that's it, folks. Thanks so much for your pledges, guys. It was a great Kickstarter campaign. I can't wait for the next. And I really, really hope that you put this port expander to good use. Thanks again and have a great day, everyone.